All right, Roto Grinders, here we are. It is Saturday afternoon, and it's kind of like a doubleheader today. The Nats and the Cubs, Atlanta and Philly, and EMac. First I was on this morning with Louis Cards, Andrew, and now I'm on with Boggslite for our first inaugural show together. So, Boggs, tell us what's going on. How's life on the West Coast?
Yeah, life's pretty good, man. We got a nice day out here. Nice little Saturday. I was up early getting all my picks in for the games this morning. So apologize if I'm a little out of it today, but I'm ready to rock and roll. We got 7 games on the night schedule tonight. I think 5 on our sponsor DraftKings, but hopefully a little more action than we've seen. It was kind of a slow day, believe it, and not really expected, especially that Cubs game, man. I was expecting quite a few runs in that one with the wind blowing out, but we got another opportunity at that, another crack at it. But yeah, things good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I didn't go with Gray or Chris Sale. I ended up putting Gray in a couple low $5 GPPs over there on FanDuel just for fun, but kind of stayed off those guys, and I've been more or less happy with it. The one guy that I'm off, but I'm on him for his next start, depending on the opponent, would be Gio Gonzalez. Boy, he was Andrew's one of his top 2 plays today, and I said I want to see it one more time. It's 2 shutout appearances for him, so you got to like that. I think he might be back, which would be good because my Nats were locked in a little deadlock battle there with the Pirates, which the great thing was today, the announcers at the end of the game didn't realize that the we're locked in the battle with the Braves. The Braves are actually playing a doubleheader also today. How bad is that? Come on!
Hey, it certainly took me by surprise. Obviously, fortunately, Cam sent out an email saying we got a lot of games coming in this weekend, a lot of early games, and then I kind of looked and I said 17 games, and I looked and I said, oh wow, we got a few double headers on the schedule here, but that's a good thing. More baseball, the better. I love it, and it's definitely a lot of fun.
Yep, and then Dan, for whatever reason, had me doing 2 shows this weekend. I think somebody was having computer issues. So I said, are you sure you want me to do 2? I said, it's a doubleheader. And then, unbeknownst to me, because I didn't look that far ahead of the schedule, 2 doubleheaders, I'm here. It's great. It's great. So what do you know? A theme of themes. But the one interesting thing that we were talking about pre-show, and I don't know if I should know because I'm a Washington Nationals fan, but the Cubs and the Nationals, even though they played a doubleheader today, are not playing tomorrow. I found that interesting. They actually have Sunday off, so there's only 14 games. But Chad, if you know why that's going on, that would be great. Otherwise, let's hop in here on a little bit of the analysis. I'm calling up our favorite site, FanDuel, which is our sponsor today. We will be talking all sites, but we will be focusing a little more in on FanDuel. Pardon me, FanDuel. All right, look at that. I need some soda. Let's take a little pause. All right, I'm refreshed. DraftKings is what we're all about. So there's some interesting breakouts of the doubleheaders. Some sites are including the late games, some aren't. Some ignored the early ones. Some had both on the separate slates. Some were only counting one. It's just all over the place today. So we will talk about all the games starting from 7 o'clock on, even though they may not be on every site, because we want to give you all the information you need for those 7 o'clock and later games. So with that, Boggs, let's talk a little pitching. Who do you like out there? Perhaps somebody that is called the Shark?
Perhaps. Really though, the main guys I'm targeting, and I'm kind of glad that they really aren't a part of the DK player pool today. Really aren't from the Chicago game, with the exception of perhaps Samardzija. I'm not going to sniff either of those guys out there in Philly. Sean O'Sullivan, I remember him when he was an Angel. We can talk about him if you want a little bit later. But you really got three aces on the mound tonight. One is really kind of clear-cut above the rest for me. That's going to be Tanaka. It's just really one of these days, at least in my opinion, where I know it may seem like I do this often, but I'm not in the mood to really take risks on some of these, inconsistent pitchers. You got Tanaka on the bump. He's been fantastic all season long. I think I actually heard you on the show this morning saying he hasn't given more than 3 runs ever in his major league career. I don't know if I'm sure he has back in Japan, but he's a model of consistency. He pitches efficiently. He racks up strikeouts, and despite the fact that he gave up a couple home runs in his last start against Boston. Um, he gave up 2 solo shots, so he's able to limit damage, keep guys off base. I think he's in a great spot for a win tonight because you also got Lester on the other end, who really hasn't been swinging the bat, or I'm sorry, really hasn't been, able to go against these. Really hasn't in his career been able to dominate the Yankees. I know it's a completely different Yankees team that is very left-handed, throughout their lineup. But, I'm not really a fan of the way Boston's been swinging the bats. I'm liking Tanaka. He's my number 1. What's your take on him?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think he is the clear-cut number 1 play. You're going to have to pay for him. So I'm hoping in some of these later games when we get to catcher, because there are double headers, depending on your side, now it's not necessarily going to help us on DraftKings as much, but that you could get Dolmet in or somebody else kind of as your cheap punt play, because we're going to have to offset some high-cost pitchers. I think there are a lot of solid pitchers this evening and no real weak ones to pick on. Tanaka's definitely the best, as I had mentioned earlier, as you were referring to. 15 games in his major league career, only 4 times has he given up 3 runs, never more than 3 runs. That's pretty good. He's going against Boston, which is 26th in Major League Baseball in runs scored on the road at 3.7, and that's against lots of bad pitchers. Tanaka is arguably one of the top 5 pitchers in the major leagues right now. So I don't mind him. Don't get scared off because he is going into Boston. Outside of him, it's not as clear cut. I mean, Lance Lynn potentially. We have Zach Greinke. I'm sure you have some fond memories of Greinke's as his days when he was a Halo for that half season. He's not doing terribly bad. An interesting thing that Andrew pointed out on the show earlier today is I was saying that his control didn't appear to be what it was looking at the numbers, and he said he'd watched a couple of those games and he felt like he was getting squeezed at the plate a little bit. And my rebuttal is, well, I guess the umps don't want the Dodgers to have any more no-hitters. Is that what it's all about? I don't know. Are they trying to protect all of Major League Baseball now?
Hey, I tell you what, if anything, Major League umpires are trying to destroy the game. People ask me all the time, because I know a few of them. They say, "Who's your favorite umpire?" And I say, "They all tie for last place." Those guys are the worst, especially when you get guys like Cowboy Joe West out there, taking over the games himself. But the thing about Greinke is he's very nitpicky. He's going to try and find that zone. He's going to stretch it as far as he can, and he's going to try and get you to swing at, he'll throw a slider for a strike, get me over slider, and then he'll throw one 3 inches lower for a ball. So if you just don't have the plate discipline, that's how he racks up his Ks. But he gets himself into trouble at times because if he's missing with those pitches and gets too nitpicky around the zone, he racks up his high strikeout total, which is why I continue to say he won't have a complete game this season. And the way he continues to pitch, he might not ever have one because he's at 120 pitches, just like C.J. Wilson by the 6th inning. So if you're asking me about him, I think that he's in play, although I wouldn't be inclined to play him on FanDuel tonight. Because Greinke, for all, as much, frustration as I have with him, he's a very efficient pitcher. He can limit the damage. He's good at holding base runners on. He just does it all. He's a very cerebral pitcher, arguably the smartest pitcher in the entire game. And, just because he's, very nitpicky and maybe perhaps won't go very deep into that game and maybe not put himself and his team in a position to get a win, I still think he's going to pitch well enough to be one of the top 2-3 pitchers of the night on our sponsored DraftKings. So I'm not on Greinke on FanDuel, as I always I'm never on him over there. I think he's a decent cash game play, but my money's on Tanaka for the number 1 option, and over on DraftKings, I'd give Greinke a number 2.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I've gone back and forth on Lance Lynn a little bit. I don't think he is. He's getting better. He gets in his head a little too much, But when you look at the Dodgers, I mean, we're down to Gordon, Puig, Gonzalez, Kemp. That's our first four. All right, that's pretty tough. Then you got the overpaid Andre Ethier. He is effective against righties, but that's about it. You've got who is that? Justin Turner. Then you got AJ Ellis, and then you got Miguel. Don't call me Mel Rojas. So that's not very frightening. Get by those first four guys, and you're good. So which means I don't know which side's going to get run support. So I think they're okay as a second pitcher. I have no problem with that. Just don't pin all your hopes on the win. Over there on FanDuel, and I say his name wrong every time, Jeff Zamarja. There we go. I always tried to say Dia at the end because he looks so Hispanic after going to Notre Dame playing football. We got the Shark Zamarja out there. I think he is probably the number 2 guy for me behind Tanaka, and arguably on FanDuel you could consider him number 1 just because of the price difference. And that's really all I got. I don't really want to put my money behind anybody else. Everybody else, I kind of feel like I might be. Those are the pitchers I don't know that I'm picking on, but I'm selecting bats against are the ones I haven't mentioned. One guy I think we could consider a little bit. Now you get to see the Dodgers games. Oh, wait, you don't. But on occasion, when you have seen the NL West games, what about Josh Colementor? Now he gets to go to Petco Park. Petco Park, very, very big. Josh likes to give up fly balls that are home runs in Chase Field. Those will be warning track balls in Petco. I think he is a kind of a zigzag play. And let's face it, the Petco and the Padres make everybody look like Cy Young.
Yeah, that's very true. I didn't appreciate that little jab about my not being able to see those Dodger games. I miss my boy Vinny. It makes me sad every day. I get angrier and angrier and angrier. But either way, I would actually, Colementor, he's kind of similar to Eric Stoltz. If this game was in Phoenix, I think we would have our highest scoring total of the night, believe it or not, despite having the Padres go in there, because I'm just not really sold on a guy like Colementor. Similar to Chris Young, they're very similar pitchers. They like to live by throwing this like high over the top fastball up in the zone. It's not something where I would recommend taking one of these guys in your cash games. Because, I mean, we've seen it with Colementor. I mean, he faced the minimum batters against, although very banged up, a Cincinnati team where he faced the minimum in a game, complete game shutout. And it's you never know where it's going to come from. He's not a very high strikeout guy. And then on the flip side, you've got Eric Stoltz, where you would hope that, Arizona could, with guys like Goldie and Aaron Hill, even Prado to some degree, step up there and get him enough run support for a win. I don't have a problem with it in the GPP, but the guy that I'm actually kind of intrigued by, I know you mentioned Samardzija, but before I get into my next guy, I do want to say that there might be a little bit of a weather concern in that game. I haven't dug too deep because I thought we were all good to go today, but I just popped onto one website that says at 7 p.m., about an hour into that game, there's a 40% chance of thunderstorms and then a 70% chance at 8 p.m. So just want to let you guys know, monitor that. Perhaps we can get a update from someone here in chat since I think our weatherman has the day off. But wanted to point that out. But Rhinus Elias, and I think everyone always says this guy's name wrong, similar to your Samardzija. But this kid has actually got some decent stuff. Another one of these guys that is very hit or miss, is very blow-up prone, and is susceptible to the long ball. But, at home, in a spacious ballpark, I'm sure you've attended a few of these games out there in Seattle in your Washington days, UW, EMac. But Elias, that park, it's really hard to hit a home run out of it. And he's a guy that he's got an electric fastball and a deadly slider. And, I'm about ready to jump ship on these Cleveland Indians, who just last season were the highest team ranked against lefties, in terms of OPS. But, they're going to have a very lefty-heavy lineup. Guys like Swisher, Rayburn really haven't been getting it done this year against lefties like they have in the past. So if you're looking for my kind of value play, It was actually $100 cheaper than Colementor. I think I'm going to lean with Elias tonight.
All right. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not against that. I don't know that I'm really for that. Uh, it's the Mariners. They hurt me. They hurt me. I can't rationally think about that. But you are right. Petco Field. Safe Field. Big, very spacious, very fun. Hard to score in there. I got to see the days in the Kingdome back when the Mariners were there, and that was an awesome home run park. That was back when they had the big boppers like Junior and Jay Blowers and Edgar Martinez and Tino Martinez and all sorts of goodness there. And it's just a different brand of baseball these days. Which reminds me, Mr. Angels fan, I believe it was October 2nd, 1995. The Mariners, one-game playoff against the Angels. Who gets to go to the playoffs?
I was
probably for you, a little early for you?
Yeah, I was probably in first grade back then. Still an Angels fan, always an Angels fan. I've been going to every opening day for the last almost maybe I went to opening day that year, about 20 years. That's my dad and I. That's our tradition. That's a little bit before my time if you're trying to give me another one of these jabs here, EMac.
All right. Well, best game I've ever been to. It was exciting. But back to the Mariners. Yeah, Cleveland just hasn't been since the glorious Lonnie Chisenhall 9 RBI game. They just haven't really been scoring a ton. So I'm not too afraid of them. I like the fact that Elias is a lefty. So I'm good with that one. The only other guy I want to mention, but I do want to hear what you have to say about Sean O'Sullivan, is, let me see here. Where'd he go? Oh, Matt Cain. Matt Cain. Stay far, far away from Matt Cain. Something's off with him. He's been on the deal already once this year. I just do not trust him whatsoever, and I've actually gone so far as to start picking against him on purpose, like targeting him. So that's just the other thing I wanted to throw out there. So talk to me a little bit about Sean O'Sullivan.
Well, obviously not available on our sponsor, DraftKings, and I do apologize. I said that Elias was cheaper than Colementor. We're supposed to be talking about DraftKings here. I was looking at FanDuel pricing where Elias is $100 cheaper than Colementor. But for the price on our sponsor, DraftKings, I definitely think he's worth a look. This is Colementor I'm talking about. So keep that in mind. But yeah, Sean O'Sullivan. I mean, this guy is about. He's he really kind of reminds me of our other co-host Stevie. And Stevie obviously was a great fireballer pitcher before he unfortunately blew out his shoulder. But they look the same now, and I'm sure Stevie was a little bit more probably in shape back in his playing days. I know I'm certainly out of shape, but he's just a tank. But he only throws about 85, and he throws a straight fastball and a get me over curveball. He's got nothing to strike anyone out with. I think it's going to be a long night for him. I think he's making his Phillies debut, but believe it or not, Sean O'Sullivan was traded for Alberto Callaspo of all people. So the Angels went from one average pitcher to the most average player in probably the history of baseball. That's the way I used to classify him, as Alberto Callaspo, because he just hit 270 every year, stole a couple bases, played average defense. He's just mediocre. But O'Sullivan, not a guy I would roll the dice on tonight, even though he's the cheapest pitcher over on FanDuel. I think he's going to get lit up, to be honest with you. Really, aside from that, and then looking at our sponsor, DraftKings, is there any interest for you in Josh Tomlin?
No, I'm actually targeting against him. I want the Mariners lefty bats tonight.
I'm kind of feeling the same way. So, I mean, I think Lance Lynn's in play. Obviously, I got Tanaka and Greinke as my top two options. Not so high on Lester. I might be rolling the dice with Elias because of his strikeout potential against a mediocre Cleveland offense. And, really aside from that, unless you want to take a big risk, Colementor's down there at 5,800. We're not on Kane. I'm not really on Tomlin either, and I'm never on Stoltz.
Yep, definitely agree with that. So I just threw out a call, Smiz or anybody else in chat. When we got these Google Hangouts up, they just suck up all the RAM, so I can get my weather map up, but it just spins, so I can't see the little clouds moving. So any thoughts on the Chicago Cubs game would be very helpful for us. We'll look at that, or I'll look at it afterwards and post my thoughts in chat after the show. But good point there. May not want to risk too many cash games with the Shark. All right, let's look at some catchers here. Now, because I'm going with Tanaka, I am going to have to do some coupon clipping at some point, so I'm going to try to do that at catcher. I'm hoping Domet is in where he's catcher eligible on some sites. I don't mind going against Tanaka with AJ Pierzynski over on FanDuel. He's 2.2. Fine, I'll roll him out there and just not worry about it. Brian McCann, yeah, he's going against Lester, but Lester just not quite there the last couple seasons, so I don't mind those guys on the cheap. Or Jan Gomes. That's kind of where I'm landing at. I'm just going to try to find the cheapest of any of those guys unless another punt play appears as those lineups come out. Otherwise, I'm just going to save there, so I didn't even look deep into catcher. Because I think tonight that is the way to go. Thoughts on that from your side? Are there any of the premium guys that interested you, or are you looking for the same cheapness there?
Not really. I'm kind of surprised, to hear you say that, because I thought I was going to be in a league of my own here, thinking, I'm not really on Mesoraco tonight at $4,500, or even Carlos Santana for that matter at $4,400, who does have catcher eligibility on our sponsor DraftKings. Not really high on Posey hitting in that ballpark, and the same goes for Yadier Molina. All these guys seem to be playing in these pitcher-friendly parks, even though they got inflated salaries. And then the guys that you normally would target, like a McCann in Yankee Stadium, up against the lefty, batting 7th. Pierzynski not even in the lineup tonight. David Ross getting the start. So, to be honest with you, my top option, if you made me pick someone high, it's going to be Mesoraco, because I think he's got enough pop to hit one out in San Francisco, and we did mention that Matt Cain has been awful. But aside going down, my number 2 is Jan Gomes. It may surprise you, it may not, but this is a guy that can hit left-handed pitching. I know I said I was on Elias a little bit, but this is the only guy that's really been hitting left-handed pitching consistently well for the Indians all season long. A guy I always like to target because he's very cheap. Usually when they face a lefty, he's bumped up to around 6th in the lineup. Take it or leave it for $3,400. I'm liking Jan Gomes. What are your thoughts on him, EMac?
I got no problem. That's kind of the only name catcher, and I don't even think he's a name catcher that I'm looking at. So, hey, no AJ Pierzynski. Hey, Ross sounds just good by me. Whoever's cheaper, that's what I'm going with. But I do agree that Gomes is probably the only one. I'm just going to save elsewhere because I'm going to be spending at first base and outfield. We'll get to those in a second. So if you have nobody else behind the dish that you would like to talk about, please, let's go on into first base. And let's just pause for a moment and let's go to our happy place. And our happy place is where Paul Goldschmidt is facing a real weak left-hander like Eric Stoltz. And the interesting thing is we have Paul Arrington and we have Eric McPherson. Now, someone is going to win and someone is going to lose, and I think in this case the Erics are just going to be sad. What are your thoughts besides Goldschmidt today?
You crack me up, EMac. Besides Goldschmidt, it's not a whole lot to love, man. I'm telling you, this is a night where it's going to be a pitcher's night. You're really going to have to hit the nail on the head with these batters. We did mention that we're targeting against Matt Cain, and I'm on board with that, so I'd probably lean towards Joey Votto. Matt Cain has some reverse splits going, but it's because of his really only good pitch at this point in his career, which is his changeup. We all know Votto can sit back on a changeup. He can hit it off a lefty. He can hit it off a righty. He's one of the game's most patient hitters, which is why he has had some relative success against Cain in the past, because he can hit that changeup. So Votto won't break the bank if you can't seem to afford Goldie tonight. $4,500 price tag on our sponsor DraftKings. I don't have a problem with it because especially in your cash games, he's always certainly capable of drawing a walk. Just having really great at bats. If there's a runner on third, you can almost guarantee you're going to get some kind of RBIs. He's very reliable. Not going to light the world on fire, but would definitely make it a solid number 2 option for me tonight. And then right after him, if you're not on Lance Lynn, I think Adrian Gonzalez, makes a decent play tonight. Again, in a pitcher's park, very similar kind of to Joey Votto, very similar price, but consistency and reliability are what I look for, especially when I load up on pitching, because I'm not going to really drop down to like a Nick Swisher, just because he might have a better shot at hitting a home run. I'm looking for a little bit more consistency. Agon has the pop to hit it out Dodger Stadium. He's got a matchup, and if Lance Lynn isn't paying those corners like he was in his last start against the Rockies, it could be a long night for him because he has struggled against those left-handed bats this year.
Yeah, some of the other guys, Freddie Freeman, Matt Adams, Anthony Rizzo, those are kind of rounding out the picks. I'm definitely paying. I'm hoping Freeman's in the second game. I'm all over him in the early games, but he has a very nice price over there on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I wanted to say, hang on, my computer's a little lagging because of all the windows I have open. Logan Morrison, 3,300.
Don't say that name. Don't say that.
3,300, and he is an upstanding church-going person. He is a saint on Twitter. He helps little old ladies across the street, and on his off days, do you know he goes to the animal shelter and pets the puppies? I don't know why you don't like him, Boggs.
He does none of those things, and I bet he would make fun of his own grandmother on Twitter. Guy's a dork. Not a fan of him. I never have been. He's been making me look bad night after night because I get on here and I start ranting about him. And I don't know if you're a Mariners fan at all. I know I've seen you wear a hat or two, but I just really think he sucks, EMac. It's that simple. I think he's extremely overrated, and similar to Brian Wilson, uses everything he can to get people talking about him. I even got a cheaper guy that I think might be in play, assuming he cracks the lineup. Same team as Goldie. There's no guarantee he'll be in the lineup, but Nick Evans, 2,700 on DraftKings, first base and outfield eligibility. They sent him down recently, but they just called him up because looking at his player profile, he was absolutely raking in AAA. So you get a pitcher that probably should be in AAA or independent league baseball in Eric Stoltz. Not the best ballpark, but if you're looking to punt, I'm not going Morrison. Just based on principle, I'm going with Evans, assuming he's in the lineup.
All right. Well, there's a few players out there that I don't like to play either, but I don't know. On this slate, 3,300, I may have to just close my eyes, hold my nose, and put them on my roster. We'll see. Because I would normally love Napoli and Poppy against a righty, but not when it's Tanaka.
Yeah, even though they're the ones that hit those solo home runs off him, and I'm not going there because I think Tanaka. I still don't think that any team's really figured him out.
Yeah, I would concur with that. So for me, if I'm going on the lower end of things, if we're going in the low rent district, the low class district, class with a capital K, it'll be Logan Morrison on that one. So we got to say it. I've been waiting forever because every time I hear you say the Keystone position in your Boggslite, I think of Keystone Beer and Miller Lite. So take it away, Keystone position. I'm just going to sit back, pop a cold one, and enjoy this.
You ever drink the Keystone? Did they have Keystone Light? That might be not trying to date you here, EMac, but I don't know how long I've had Keystone.
I'm married. I'm not on the market anymore. It's my 4-year anniversary today. There you go.
I'm not trying to age you. Sorry, but Keystone Light, good beer if you're looking for some cheap beer that tastes like nothing. Good beer to drink at college. The Keystone position. I actually like a few options tonight. More so on our sponsor DraftKings because some guys have multi-position flexibility. I'm liking Cano as my top option. I really haven't been on him all season long, but I really think he kind of stands out as the top option of the night and someone definitely worth paying up for, especially when you got Kipnis, who's been pretty mediocre since coming back. You got D. Gordon taking on Lance Lynn, who's pretty quick to home plate, and also will be going against Yadier Molina. Never like to target base stealers against Yadier. And Pedroia just really not swinging the bat well. Likes to hit well at home. So I'm liking Cano, and he really stands out. So if you got the salary relief to pay up for a guy at second base tonight, Cano's my guy, and especially in cash games, similar to what I said about Votto. A very consistent guy that hasn't been lighting the world on fire, but certainly can have a big hit, clutch hit in certain opportunities, and someone I think, like I said, is worth paying up for tonight. Right after him, on our sponsor DraftKings, Kyle Seager, guy in the same game, obviously is third base around most of the industry, but for whatever reason has second base eligibility on our sponsor DraftKings. He's my number 2 option. I'm liking these guys, these right-handed bats. Just discovered a little tidbit on Twitter that Kyle Seager has all of his home runs against right-handed pitching this year, and 11 out of 12 of them, believe it or not, have come at Safeco Field. So he likes hitting that. He likes hitting in he's comfortable hitting in that environment. He likes to get a hold and pull one in about the only part of the park where the ball tends to carry. So I'm liking those 2 guys as my top options. Who you liking?
Definitely Cano and Seager, absolutely. Cano's my top option on every site. Not that much of a stretch, but really like him. I like Seager. I've been playing Seager more at second base where I can on which is DraftKings, and enjoy that. I'm not against Carpenter leading off. I think he can take a walk. He's savvy enough to work the count, the plate. I don't mind that for a cash game play. I actually like Brandon Phillips batting cleanup. He's picking it up a little bit. Do not be afraid of the righty-righty matchups. Phillips can hit righties. He doesn't have a problem with it, and we already said that we're not fans of Matt Cain tonight. I'm looking at those guys, and frankly, that's really it. If you're going to punt, Brian Roberts actually has, I'm going to say it, pretty good BVP against Leicester, but Roberts is broken down, so I'm sure a lot of those at-bats came when he was a stellar flirting with 2020 second baseman for the Orioles. He's not that player anymore, but I don't mind him as a punt option. So I'm pretty much paying tonight. Like I said, I'm punting catcher. I'm going to pay for second base tonight, and I'm going to try to do whatever I can to get Cano in the lineup.
Yep, I'm with you on that. Great point about Carpenter. I think he might be the toughest out for Greinke, a guy that Greinke will likely be in a full count situation against every single at bat. But Carpenter, if you got the 4K to pay up for him, you might as well do everything in your power to get an extra 300 for Seager or 700 for Cano. If Carpenter was in like the $3,500 range, then we'd maybe be talking. But it's really Cano, Seager for me. Don't sleep on Aaron Hill as a GPP play. Certainly a guy that has pop and can hit it out at Petco Park if he gets a hold of one. And I got one better for you in terms of punt options. Assuming he's in the lineup, he's been starting, pretty consistently here over the course of a few games. Joe Panic. He's 2K. He's a punt. I don't believe he has a hit in any of his home starts yet, but at all the way down at the rock bottom price against Alfredo Simon, who can be hittable, that's where I would lean, because I agree with you that Brian Roberts obviously isn't the same player he once was. He doesn't have that speed. Ironically enough, it seems like he's already surpassed his total games played average over the last 10 years, because he never really made it this far in the season. But I'm not really on Brian Roberts, even though he does have some decent numbers against Leicester, like you said.
All right. Well, he's got a new workout coach with the Yankees, Alex Rodriguez. So he's doing a little better this season. Nothing? That's not good. I thought you'd hate A-Rod for sure. That's not going to get a rise out of you?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. I was looking in the chat room. What did you say?
Oh, I said Brian Roberts has a new strength coach, workout coach, A-Rod.
Well, I'm A-Rod is A-Rod. I'm not the world's biggest hater of him like a lot of people are, but certainly not a good guy for baseball.
All right.
Things have kind of materialized.
It's unfortunate. So I just want to throw one last thing out there about Eric Stultz. Gives up a 317 batting average against to lefties and a 317 batting average against to righties. He is friends to everybody. not on his team. So I like the Aaron Hill pick. Let's. Would you want to go to shortstop, or you want to go to the hot corner next?
Let's go hot corner.
All right. Let me see here. Seager were available, and Valbuena, if he's in the lineup. Those are the two guys I am looking at. I'm going to need to find a third, so you're going to have to help me out here, Boggs. Who else is piquing your interest? Or is there somebody that is a punt option that's floating around out there where we can find a little more savings?
I got a few options for you. Obviously, with you on Seager, I mentioned he's my number 2 second baseman right behind Cano. My number 1 first baseman. If you felt like playing Seager and Carpenter, perhaps in a cash game because you couldn't afford Cano, I don't have a problem with that. But Frazier, a little too expensive for my blood tonight. More of a GPP only play as always. Certainly has the power and the ability to hit extra base hits, but not someone that I'm really targeting in my cash games over a more consistent guy like Seager, in my opinion. And going down from there, not so much a GPP play, but a decent play at a moderate price. If you're not on Carpenter, perhaps you're playing Greinke. Pablo Sandoval, Kung Fu Panda. He's shown that he likes to hit right-handed pitching a little bit better, and that he can do so at home. He's comfortable hitting in that spacious ballpark out there in San Francisco. His price has kind of come down because he's been slumping like the entire San Francisco team. But, he's capable of posting a big night, almost any game where the matchup is in his favor. So I'm liking Sandoval. Then kind of going down, not on Justin Turner, not really on Solarte either after his hot start. Really, I would go all the way down if you have to punt, and probably take a Jace Peterson if you're not on a Josh Colementor. You got to temper, similar to what I said about Panda, you got to temper your expectations with these guys. But hey, if he can squeak a couple base hits here and there, at the very least, they're minimum price and they're not going to kill you, and they're going to allow you to load up. So Jace Peterson probably will find a way in the lineup. I don't hate that pick if you need a punt.
All right. Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's one of those days where third base, it's just not there. I mean, Longo and Beltre and Donaldson were all early, and Ramirez too, Aramis. So yeah, I'm happy to punt. Like we mentioned, Seager, Carpenter on DraftKings. I like them second and third. If I'm getting Cano in, I'll pick one of those guys for third base. So that's where I'm at on that spot. Shortstop. Shortstop is another place where I am just going to look to save tonight. So I'm checking to see if my guy is in the lineup, and he is. Brad Miller. Sadly, he is batting ninth, but he does get to face Josh Tomlin, and we mentioned we wanted to pick on him this evening. I like him. He is at $3K on our sponsor, DraftKings. Fits in nicely. Not quite a punt play, but with the way they've raised the floor on some of their pricing, $3K is a pretty good price. I don't mind just rolling him out. We know he's hit 2 home runs on occasion, but he has a couple whiffs every now and then on occasion. So salt to taste, nothing crazy on that one. That's really the one guy I was waiting to see if he is in the lineup. The other guy I'm going to consider if he is in the lineup is Starlin Castro. Has all 11 home runs against right-handed, same-handed pitching, and I don't have high hopes tonight for Blake Trianon for the Washington Nationals if that game is a go. So those are the two guys I'm looking at. Obviously, if you're going to go with Tanaka and or put in another one of the upper-level pitchers on multi-pitcher sites, you're really going to have to punt tonight at a couple positions. So I'm kind of picking catcher and shortstop for that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, especially since, no Hanley in the lineup tonight. That was a good point you brought up about Castro. That being said, I got to say, especially with Johnny Peralta also not in the lineup, I just read about that. My top option, if you're not on Elias, is probably going to be Asdrubal Cabrera. I kind of broke down, I don't know if you saw this yesterday on the show, about Chris Young and his high fastball, which guys profile those guys that could hit the high fastball. I said it was Swisher, said it was Brantley. These guys had mediocre games last night. Brantley just missed a home run, but Asdrubal was not one of those guys, and he struggled. Flash to the night, Elias is a guy that likes to live low in the zone. Asdrubal, switch hitter, can hit left-handed pitching, likely going to be batting second. Got a pretty moderate price across the industry. I'm liking his Drupal tonight. Either which site to be one of the guys that does any damage if Elias gets in trouble. So that's really pretty much all I like. Still waiting for that D-backs lineup. Chris Owings could definitely be in play, similar to what I said about Hill and Goldie up against a weak lefty in Stultz. And going down from there, I got no interest in Stephen Drew. Brad Miller had a kind of really good end to last season, a great finish, a great start against my Halos this year, and then really fell off the map. But he's kind of starting to get back into it. He's very cheap. I'll give you that. And yeah, I mean, I would probably say that if you're in the mood to punt the position, he's got the upside because he's got the pop. We've seen it from him before. If you need to absolutely punt, you got, in addition to my boy Joe Panic, you got Miguel Rojas down there batting eighth. Not an ideal matchup at all. But this guy, he broke out in a big way. The only time I used him as a punt, I believe. He got like a bases clearing double in his first start, but he is who he is. He's a punt. You got to temper your expectations, like I said. I would probably be with you and say that try and get Miller in that lineup because he's the only one down there in the punt territory that has home run upside.
Yeah. And, hey, if you get to that last spot and Miller's in your lineup, you just can't quite get your lineup to work and then the cash issues to work out because you're spending like a drunken sailor, you can get Rojas in there, and he'll drop you down another $1,000, and all will be good. Okay, see, here we are on the outfield. So, chat, we got 15 minutes left. I have a pick 5 queued up. I have a rapid fire max queued up. I cannot for the life of me remember what the hashtag is we're supposed to put on Twitter to have you guys ask questions. So feel free to put those in chat. That's just my little gift to you this weekend since Dan is out and about and he has left me in charge and I'm getting a little rummy after 2 shows today. So we're breaking all the rules. So put those questions there in chat and Boggs and I will get to those. Outfielders, I am kind of focusing on 3 different groupings. I've started doing this a lot. With my outfielders. I like to get 2 or 3 in, even on my cash games, if there's a lineup and a matchup where I want to exploit. And those outfielders also have similar hitting abilities against said pitchers. So this evening, reluctantly, I'm going to throw out there Holiday, Craig, and John Jay. Now it's a tougher matchup against Greinke, but there's not a lot of good people to pick on today. So I'm going to throw them out there. I also like Justin Upton and Jason Hayward. I've been running those guys out this morning. It looks like my scores are doing pretty well, I can tell. So they must be behind some of that, so I don't mind them if they're in the nightcap. And then Andy Chavez, Michael Saunders, and James Jones. Now, let's see. I know that lineup's out now. So we have Andy leading off at 2.6. There's another great salary relief option. We have James Jones, who steals bases. The other night he was 0 for 3. Stole second, stole third. Hey, there's some points for you. I don't mind that at all. And then Saunders. Saunders is getting a little pricey, especially since he's batting 7th, but he does offer a little more power upside, and he also can steal. So those are kind of what I am looking at on particular guys that I wanted to call out sort of in that theme where I go. I also don't mind, and now his name is escaping me, Seth Smith in the lefty-righty matchup against Cole Mentor. He led me to great success last Saturday night. I had him on every late FanDuel lineup for the double dong, and I got to see dollar signs. Now that is no reason for me to pick him today, but we did say fly ball pitcher, he hits home runs. I don't mind him if he's in the lineup. Who are you liking? And I'll mind the lineups for a few more picks for our loyal fans.
Hey, I was about to say, yeah, I agree with you, but I got one more guy, and the last guy you mentioned is Seth Smith. If you want me to rank my outfielders, I kind of had a hard time doing it tonight. And believe it or not, I kind of have like a 3-way tie. I got Jay Bruce, another one of these patient hitters that has enough power and can steal a base occasionally. Billy Hamilton, obviously stolen base machine if he gets on base. But he might struggle with that changeup. That's the one guy that I'm concerned about. And then Seth Smith. These are my top 3 guys. There's not a whole lot else I like. Puig, obviously he's going to be in play, but he's been banged up and hasn't been stealing bases lately. in Dodger Stadium. The Dodgers as a team just haven't been hitting at home. Brantley's not a horrible play, but he's got limited upside, and as the second most expensive guy in the outfield on our sponsor DraftKings, I don't see him having as much upside as, say, a Jay Bruce. So I've got Bruce, Seth Smith, and Billy Hamilton as my top three. I'm with you on John Jay. If you maybe pick two of those Cardinals outfielders, it'd be Holiday and Jay. Definitely with you on James Jones and Andy Chavez as nice value plays. And then a couple guys I want to curious to hear your thoughts on. They're definitely always these platoon guys that everyone loves to play, and especially on FanDuel. But I'll stick with their pricing on our sponsor DraftKings. Cody Ross and Ryan Rayburn. Any love for those guys tonight?
Well, if Warren's in chat, Bills fan 777, he will give the obligatory spiel about why we should talk about Ryan Rayburn against a lefty. He's going on reputation alone. He just hasn't done a lot this season, but he is so cheap. He just keeps sucking us back in. I don't mind that. Definitely a punt option there. And then Cody Ross, is he? They haven't announced that lineup yet. If he is in, I don't mind him. I've been looking to him for relief every now and then. If memory serves, I don't know what his DraftKings price is, but I think he's about perpetually 2.6 on FanDuel. So I do find him in my lineups from time to time.
Oh, he's cheaper than that. He's 2.2, man. He's rock bottom.
Oh, boy, maybe I haven't scrolled down into the dregs lately ever since we found, who was it, Hunter Pence hiding down there a couple of weeks ago. But, yeah, I don't mind those guys. One guy I was going to throw out potentially as a cheapie or cheaper would be Ethier, who I'd mentioned. He's batting fifth. If you're not on Lynn, I don't mind that. And then Daniel Nava. Am I insane to even consider him against Tanaka?
No, not really. I would say it's probably a bad play on DraftKings because he's around $3,500, which is only $100 less than Seth Smith. So I would not be inclined to play him over there, but I believe he's only $2,300 on FanDuel. In a GPP, I wouldn't put him in your lineup with Tanaka. I don't use that strategy, but say you've got a GPP lineup with perhaps Lance Lynn or Greinke. Sure, light him up because it doesn't take much to get it out of Yankee Stadium. I say it show after show every time there's a home game in Yankee Stadium. I really think that's kind of an embarrassment, a disgrace of a stadium. It makes the old Yankee Stadium just, I don't know. You got those balls flying out of there. It's just not the way they intended on building it. Someone ought to have been fired when they didn't realize when you tear down the building behind it, it creates a jet stream that goes out to right field. But either way, it doesn't take a lot. So, I could see perhaps Nava getting a hold of one. He's a good hitter. Kid came out of nowhere, hit a grand slam in his first major league at bat ever. He didn't even make his college baseball team. So, he's one of these players that has a chip on his shoulder. He always wants to get better. He's never satisfied, never going to be complacent. But batting second, the matchup isn't there, but the price makes him a decent punt option for me. Sorry, I just ranted on there for a bit.
That's all right. That's what makes you famous, Boggs. Come on, we gotta stay in our lanes. See, and I did not realize that Nava was like me and didn't make his college baseball team. Of course, I did stop playing baseball after about my third year of Little League. So, yeah. Close. We're not. Well, if we had a Venn diagram, maybe we'd overlap by about that much.
Hey, even worse, he got cut from his team, and instead of just going somewhere else, he became like the water boy or the equipment manager, if you will. So hey, he made a tryout. He stuck with it. Hats off to him.
That doesn't bode well. That's just like being pee-whipped. It's just
exactly
really. The water boy, although he has the last laugh. He's in the majors, and the rest of us aren't. Painful. All right, so let's talk Star Street Pick 5 because the questions just aren't really coming. I think we've done a fantastic job of educating our loyal listeners. So, and just to throw it out there in the early game, it looks kind of solid over here on Star Street. It looks like we might get 3 out of 5 there. In the pick 5 for the morning contest. So let's see if I can get the late contest up. Here we go. Let's hope we don't get the little pink thing that says it's not there. Oh, it is there. All right. Are you ready, Boggs?
Let's do it.
Freddie Freeman, Paul Goldschmidt. We got to go Goldie.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I did say Freddie Freeman's got a decent matchup. Hit well last night, but I'm going to lean towards Goldie. Both have decent splits in their favor, but Freeman in a better hitting environment. But even though I mentioned Sean O'Sullivan is a pretty horrible pitcher, he can get outs from time to time, whereas Stoltz I have no idea why this guy's still in the bigs.
All right. And Dean just wants to clarify, is it the scowl that made you famous or the rants that made you famous? I say put those hands together. It is both. It's the whole package. All right. Here we go. Cincinnati, we're looking at Jay Bruce or Billy Hamilton. I think we got to go Hamilton because we're looking for the floor. If he gets on base, he's going to steal. Jay Bruce, we need the home run. I'm going to go with Hamilton.
Yeah, but I think I might disagree with you on that one. I think Jay Bruce, because he can hit the changeup. Billy Hamilton, we saw it early on in the year. He couldn't hit a changeup at all when he was striking out almost every at bat. If Kane kind of has it going tonight, if it's a close game, either way, Jay Bruce can steal a base as well. He's got more upside for home run potential. If that game does get out of hand, it's likely due to Jay Bruce hitting a home run, in which case Billy Hamilton won't be stealing. I think you're going to go Jay Bruce on that one.
All right. I will agree to disagree. There we go. Finally, we disagree on something here. Okay, Robinson Cano or Yasiel Puig? Definitely Cano. He's a Mariner. He's a lefty. He's going against righty. That's all I need to know.
Yep. On a normal given night, it would be Puig because of the upside. But like I said, he hasn't been running, and I'm not really liking his matchup with Lance Lynn coming off a couple good starts in a row.
All right. Ooh, interesting one here. Justin Upton or Devin Mesoraco? I'm at a loss. I don't even know where to lean on this one because I've been punting catcher. I didn't look into Mesoraco's numbers.
Well, I mean, Mesoraco, he hits righties, hits lefties. I'm going to play the ballpark factor in this one. I know we didn't with Freeman, but Goldie's kind of on another level of his own where he's just matchup proof and ballpark proof. I'm going to play the ballpark factor. I'm going Justin Upton. Look for him to perhaps get a hold of one of those weak sliders I told you about, those soft slided curveballs that Sean O'Sullivan throws that are just awful.
All right. See, that's why I like watching your shows because you have the better insight on the pitching and how it works. Me, I'm looking at numbers. Now I'll watch some of the games, so I know a lot more about the Nats and I know more about Baltimore and I know about Seattle. But you seem to have these excellent little tidbits on so many of the pitchers and hitters. See, this is where it's good to have diversity in your hosts. See, we all come at this slightly differently. There are many ways to skin a cat, but we don't want to all be the same person because that's boring. So we got differences, and I think that was a good point there by Boggs. Last one here, Adrian Gonzalez, Matt Carpenter. I'm leaning towards Carpenter, but let's talk a little bit about Gonzalez. You liked him as kind of as one of your first basemen, middle of the tier pricing. He's got I don't even know. Does he have the slightly easier pitcher to go against than Carpenter? I don't know. This is almost like a coin flip.
Yeah, I mean, we're not. I mean, we were on Greinke, weren't we? We said Lynn's in play as well. Greinke's definitely a much better pitcher than Lynn, especially with how inconsistent Lynn has been. I just like Gonzalez perhaps to get more RBI opportunities. I think they're both pretty much the same type of player in terms of they're consistent, lacking a little bit of power. I think Adrian has a little more power. Neither of which are going to steal you a base. But Carpenter hitting leadoff, sure there's more run potential, but Adrian Gonzalez has got more RBI potential, and he's got enough power to hit it out of that ballpark. So I think it's got to be Adrian Gonzalez for me.
All right, I can land on that. I'll have plenty of Matt Carpenter exposure across the industry, so I'm not as worried. So, to recap, we both like Goldschmidt. You are on Jay Bruce. I'm still leaning towards Billy Hamilton, though I will have Jay Bruce as one of my outfielders. Robinson Cano, Justin Upton, and Adrian Gonzalez. I'm a little iffy on these. We seem to hesitate, so I'm only going to play 10 to win 20. And then we'll throw $1 out there just in case we get all 5 and we get $20 back. But it's one of those nights. I like it when we're all confident. So that one, chat. My advice: just play 3 to win 5. Or 3 to win, and not the 5 to win. So we don't want you to risk your bankroll. And then let's wind her up here with the rapid fire max. We have Yasiel Puig or David Ortiz. Do we really want to pick against Tanaka?
No, not tonight.
I don't think so. Paul Goldschmidt, free money, or Matt Holliday? I'm going with free money.
Yep, I'm with you still.
All right. Billy Hamilton, Robinson Cano. Another one. Cano. We're just checking the box.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm still with you. I got Cano over Hamilton as well because I think if Hamilton gets on base, he's going to surpass. If he's on base 3 times, he's going to get more than Cano. But I don't see it happening because I don't know if he can hit Matt Cain's changeup. So that's why it's a little bit of a question mark for me, which is why I like Bruce over Hamilton. But
all right,
Cano, you know what you're going to get.
It's rapid fire, so steals are 5, singles are 5. You don't get a big bump for steals. So just reminder for the fans. Andre Ethier or Alfonso Soriano. We have a Soriano sighting. How did we not mention him? They like to roll him out there in his Hannibal Lecter, a little cart, and let him take off the mask and swing lefty pitchers. I can't believe he's still a viable option. But you know what? I'm gonna go with him over Ethier.
You know what? I am too. I'm glad you said that because hey. Remember, I think it was just last year, right when he got traded to the Yankees, he went on an absolute tear.
He was insane!
What's the reason? You got 2 inconsistent guys. Both are probably going to go 0 for 4. It could tie. One might go 0 for 5. But I tell you what, Alfonso Soriano's best game is always better than Andre Ethier's best game because when Andre Ethier, even if he hits a home run, he's 1 for 4. It seems like you go by FanDuel scoring, he never gets over 6 points. But so I'm going to lean towards Soriano. I wouldn't recommend playing either guy because I just think they're both over the hump in their careers. But yeah, glad you're with me on that Soriano pick.
All right, and then the last one is Dustin Pedroia, D. Gordon. I'm leaning towards D. Gordon. I really don't want to go against Tanaka. That's the only reason I'm leaning. I feel that they're both. Actually, I like D. Gordon better, regardless. In this matchup.
I mean, I said I wasn't high on him tonight at second base because I think he doesn't really have very much stolen base potential. But like you said, it's not like we're recommending Pedroia on the other end. We're not on Pedroia either. He's going to be a tough out for Tanaka. Do you get docked for strikeouts on that
I was so excited to lock that one in since we agreed on all 5, and I got to go back here for the scoring. For scoring, you get -1 for an out. So
okay, so because I'd say I could see maybe D. Gordon striking out more times, but I think D. Gordon's a little bit safer in that circumstance.
All right, so for those of you at home, we had the rare 5x5 agreement: Puig, Goldie, Cano, Soriano, and Gordon. Lock it in. I'm gonna play the rapid fire max for the big daddy. I'm gonna throw $20 on this one because this is Boggs' first show with me. So clearly that's sort of like a bobblehead or a birthday, and that's all I need to know with that. But with that, Grinders, we're kind of up at the 6:30 hour. We've got about 34 minutes left until roster lock. We've got a lot of changes to make with our lineups. We're still waiting on a couple. I'm sure Kirk Gibson isn't going to help us out in any way because, why would he? And we got some scrambling to do. But before I am done, I wanted to say thank you to Boggs for joining me. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you, DraftKings. There's still a little bit of overlay out there. Not a ton, but there's enough if you pop in there. And by the way, they still auto-generate some of those double-ups toward all the way through lineup lock, so sometimes you can jump in there and get a little built-in overlay. But just quickly looking at there, most everything is about 60 to 65% full, so there still is some room when you consider there's 40 minutes left. That'll probably get up to about 90%. But lots of action out there, lots of action across the industry. It should be good. Tomorrow, there is a Grinders Live show at 11:30, and I don't even know who I'm on with. I was only focusing on today, so hey, it'll be me and a mystery guest, but I'll get that posted up there in chat. Any last words, Boggs, that you would like to leave us with?
No, just enjoy the show. I enjoyed working with you. It's our first show, hopefully not our last. And yeah, good luck tonight, Grinders.
All right. Go win some money. See you guys in the morning.